Maayong aga sa tanan, magandang umaga. I'm here together with my students from the University of the Philippines High School in Iloilo to present our paper titled Pag-ámlig, Social Constructivist Worldview on the Social Fencing Conservation Phenomenon in Leganes Integrated Katunggan Eco-Park in Iloilo. Environmental conservation has emerged as a critical global concern as ecosystems confront climate change, rapid development, and unsustainable resource exploitation. In many contexts, conservation efforts rely on physical mechanisms such as fencing to protect ecosystems from intrusion and exploitation. However, in some communities, such as the Leganes Integrated Katunggan Eco-Park, also known as LIKE, protection occurs not through physical barriers, but through social fencing. A non-physical conservation strategy where communities themselves collectively protect national resources within a specific area without physical barriers. However, despite its growing recognition as a community-based conservation, social fencing remains underexplored on how it shapes community worldviews, especially from cultural and interpretive perspectives. Understanding how worldviews form and transform is therefore essential to understanding how conservation practices are sustained over time. The objectives of the study of this paper, is to examine the worldviews surrounding the social fencing phenomenon in the Leganes Integrated Katunggan Eco-Park using social constructivist analysis and to formulate a context-specific theory that reflects the community's localized understanding of conservation. To achieve these objectives, we use qualitative interpretivist research design guided by Constructivist Grounded Theory. Participants were selected using purposive sampling and included Eco-Park officials, local government representatives, and community members actively involved in mangrove conservation activities. So the study was conducted at the, as I said earlier, Leganes Integrated Katunggan Eco-Park, locally known as LIKE. It's a community-managed mangrove rehabilitation site located in Iloilo and was originally developed from an abandoned fish pond and is actively managed by community members and local government partners. So to hear about the theoretical model that the research team was able to develop, may I call on my two co-presenters.
So, good morning, everyone. As mentioned by Professor Barrios, through these methodologies, we have developed the Pag-amlig theory model, which is a culturally grounded framework that explains how social fencing emerges as a communal ethic of care. So, as you can see, at the foundation of this model lies the concept of Panan-awan. Panan-awan is actually a Hiligaynon term meaning sight or vision. So, in the context of our study, or in our paper rather, Panan-awan represents the worldviews, which is the lens through which individuals interpret their relationship with the environment. So these worldviews function like the roots of a tree anchoring the entire conservation process. So from this foundation, four interconnected phases emerge. The first phase is pagpahibalo, meaning awareness, where knowledge is shared through education and also communication. So oftentimes, this is where educational workshops, trainings, and interactions with knowledge bearers happen. For our next phase, pag-updanay, this means cooperation where shared understanding leads to collective action. And then for our third phase, which is pagpabakod, meaning empowerment, where individuals gain confidence, leadership, and decision-making capacity, as well as institutional support and livelihood opportunities. So for the context of association members are given livelihood opportunities such as catering services as well as selling of mangrove seedlings. And then for our last phase, which is pagpadayon, meaning continuity, where conservation practices are sustained across generations. So this is where, again, practices become embedded to the everyday lives of the people involved, such as community members, association members of like, as well as the local government officials. So through this, the theory that we have developed actually does not strictly follow a linear sequence. Rather, these phases are cyclical and dynamic. So for example, as you can see here, there is a cyclical model in the phases where empowered members can or often return to the first phase, which is pagpahibalo or awareness building, by educating new participants and thereby restarting the cycle. So at the apex of our model lies the concept of Pag-amlig, which is symbolized as the canopy of the tree. So the Pag-amlig comes from the Hiligaynon language and translates to care, attention, to guard well, or to be careful with. So it reflects the highest expression of community stewardship and conveys the idea of guarding something with intention and responsibility.
So Pag-amlig is sustained through several key conditions. So first, we have community composition and territorial cohesion, sustained by strong kinship ties and geographic proximity, enabling trust-based protection and continuous monitoring and rapid response to threats. As community members explained, guardianship arises from mutual understanding rather than formal authority. They said, kami mismo nga mga taga-diri nga nagaintindihan ay kami nga bantayan ang ini nga lugar. Meaning, we ourselves as locals here understood one another that this place should be safeguarded. Next, we have presence of educated and trained individuals whose environmental knowledge promotes awareness of mangrove importance and the risk of neglect. So, community members explained that if this community is educated on how to protect the fragile ecosystem, they become legitimate participants in the social fence. Third, we have community capacity and agency, which is supported by livelihood income-generating activities that links conservation efforts with economic benefits that strengthens the long-term commitment of the individuals involved within like. So a participant noted, ga-produce kami sang mangrove seedlings, ga-tour guiding kami, ga-maintenance, ga-catering services kami. Meaning, we produce mangrove seedlings, we do tour guiding, and we do maintenance. We also do catering services. Next, we have active guarding and protection. So it involves active monitoring, regulation, and rule enforcement by community members who effectively function as the social fence within like. They emphasize that ang grupo namon ang naga-kudal dira, hindi na kailangan magbutang sang tanod. Meaning, our group is the one fencing here, so there is no longer a need to put guards to protect the community. And next, we also identified 6 interrelated Panan-awan, or worldviews that represents how community members understand environmental care as seen in the bottom of our model earlier. So from the participants' own responses, we developed this Panan-awan. So first, we have Pagtudlo, or care as education, where learning builds awareness. And then we have Pagbinuligay, or care as cooperation. Working together strengthens action. Next, we have Panag-iyâ, or care as ownership. So here, the community members views like or the environment as their own place, or views it as their own. Next, we have Pangabuhián, or care as livelihood. Conservation supports survival, and then we have Pagpalánggà sa Palibut, or care as love for nature. So emotional attachment motivates action within the community. And lastly, we have Pagkalipay, or care as fulfillment. So pride and happiness sustain participation. So these worldviews do not operate independently. Instead, they function as interconnected interpretive lenses that reinforces the cyclical movement across the theoretical phases within our model.
So in conclusion for everyone, our paper demonstrates that Pag-amlig represents a culturally grounded system of environmental stewardship sustained through shared knowledge, responsibility, emotional connection, and also cooperation. So as a recap, some of our essential findings is that Pag-amlig operates dominantly during our Pagtudlo phase or education and Panag-iyâ or ownership, wherein these phases turn awareness into sustained action. However, it also appears weaker on other phases, which indicates that strengthening the link between conservation and livelihood helps deepen commitment and long-term cooperation. So the development of our Pag-amlig theory provides a localized framework that highlights the role of community worldviews in shaping environmental action and also decision-making, offering a practical implication for conservation management and also policy. So in the end, environmental stewardship becomes sustainable not only when people are taught to care, but when they see the environment as part of themselves and their future. Thank you, and that concludes our discussion. Daghang salamat.